Welcome to CTV News Your Canada. It's Tuesday, May 27th. We'll bring you profiles of fascinating Canadians and stories about your community. Thanks for watching.
A moment as symbolic as it is rooted in tradition. And for these women, it's another page in their royal fairy tale.
It was really quite unbelievable.
50 ordinary high school girls from across the country, chosen in 1953 to embark on an extraordinary adventure to witness the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II.
We wore them every day.
A little blue suit.
Sponsored by Canadian businessman Garfield Weston, they set sail from Montreal, dressed in matching coats and gloves. For many, it was their first time leaving home.
That Philip sort of went like this, look up there, and that she looked up and saw us. But is that a dream? I don't know.
No, it's not a dream.
It's not a dream.
What was planted during that 7-week journey went beyond royal pageantry. It sparked friendships lasting a lifetime. A bond at the heart of the documentary Coronation Girls.
I think friendship, one of the things about it is it's the purest of endeavors. And one really journeys into the heart of it without ever really knowing its destination.
2 years ago, 12 of the women reunited, returning to London. A journey orchestrated by the film's creator, this time to meet King Charles. A chance to feel 17 again, to relive the magic of a moment that shaped their lives.
As magnificent as it was for me to see the Queen go by in her golden coach, for me it was more profound to meet him and talk to him.
And today another chapter unfolds, this time on Canadian soil. 3 of the women, now nearing 90, reuniting once again for a front row seat to a royal tree planting. A symbol of strength and unity, just like the roots they planted all those years ago.
Here we are.
At the young age of 88.
So you never know what's around the corner.
And next month, the women will receive coronation medals from the lieutenant governors of their provinces, along with the documentary's filmmaker, a celebration of friendship and the rare gift of going back. Stefan?
Lights flashing, debris strewn about, and an overwhelming situation, making it tough for first responders to determine where to start. That's where University of Waterloo researchers and their new robot come in. Its creators are part of the UW MedTech Resolve team. The soft component has to do with the parts, more malleable than your typical robot, meaning it's better for human-robot interaction.
And then think of a regular robot arm that has hard metal joints. It could crush someone's arm, but this one, because it has feedback, it's friendly for human-robot interaction and for an application such as a medical triage.
In a medical triaging situation, time is of the essence. Whether it's a natural disaster or a crash, first responders may have dozens of patients to assess all at once. But with the help of a triaging robot, a daunting task becomes more attainable.
It could actually traverse through, like, let's say for an example, a disaster site itself, and then it would be able to kind of attach the wristband onto the patient's wrists one by one.
It uses biometric signaling to get someone's heart rate, oxygen saturation. We can see who has the highest need for care based on their vital signs.
The prototype differs from other robots because it uses pneumatics, the use of gas or pressurized air, to power its soft joints.
We have these syringes, which controls the robot grippers, and this uses hydraulics, which is also very precise for medical situations.
Their invention recently turned heads at a big robotics competition in Boston.
And the first time ever this happened where a team was able to win 2 awards actually. So we won both second place and the Audience Choice Awards, and that's never happened before.
So don't be surprised if one day you see first responders arrive with some robotic backup. Spencer Turcott, CTV News, Waterloo.
Recognizing a big part of Canada's history in miniature form.
2 weeks ago, we unveiled our 80 Years of Freedom project, which talks about the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands. Liberated by the Canadians.
The latest installation was over a year in the making and is the second historical display, the first Vimy Ridge.
We want to do here at Little Canada is tell stories, yes, but more importantly, evoke a sense of wonder and curiosity about our country.
The display is a miniature replica of the real thing located in Mississauga, sharing stories of 40 different people.
20 stories of Canadians who liberated the Netherlands and 20 stories of Dutch citizens who were liberated by the Canadians.
Each piece meticulously designed in-house.
15-20% is 3D printed, and even then we still have to design and assemble and paint.
Taking iconic life-size Canadian scenes and historical moments and shrinking them down so you can travel the country from the corner of Yonge and Dundas. Up next for Little Canada are their preparations for their Canada Day celebrations with a special surprise for the first 1,000 visitors. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
It's a project near and dear to Maurice Henri's heart.
And a lot of these people, especially the men, never really talk about it. So it was my way of trying to get them to open up, to talk to them and hang out with them and honor them.
Photographer Maurice Henri, along with students from Mackenzie College, are visiting with veterans to document their lives and capture their images through black and white portraits. 8 students are involved and 6 veterans, men and women, have been interviewed so far. Some of them over 100 years old.
The images are more than just a picture. Being able to capture those moments and being able to find the humanity and the vision in the person as well.
Henri is the founder of Cameras for Healing, a not-for-profit organization that helps people deal with trauma through photography. He says many veterans never shared their experiences with their families. During one photo shoot, a 102-year-old veteran's son came to watch.
He became quite emotional because he said to me, he pulled me aside and he says, "I can't believe you pulled out some of these stories. I never heard them before."
Henri has the lofty goal of meeting and photographing 40 veterans.
Even though they're in wheelchairs and there's some of them, have difficulty walking and so to speak, but you can still feel and see that pride of what they did for us.
Always thinking that these stories would be sad. I'm overwhelmed by how happy these people are.
Veterans in Focus will go on display in November in the lobby of the Hotel Beausejour. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
The president of Rotary Club of Timmins Porcupine knows a thing or two about Ribfest.
Well, we learned that people in Timmins love ribs, okay. We also learned it's quite expensive to put on a Ribfest these days.
McIver says another trend happening is people spend less in the beer tent, and he adds the renting of tents and tables, policing, sanitation, and post-event cleanup are more expensive these days.
Well, it's probably double or triple at least, I think, from where things were before.
McIver says the club signed on some sponsors this year, but it didn't raise enough money before its deadline and decided to call it off. Instead, it's hosting its inaugural Golf for Good tournament on June 6th in support of the Timmins and District Hospital Emergency Room.
They're going to have some major costs, yes, and we're going to help out. We've made a commitment to them over $50,000, and this is going to help pay down some of that.
The Timmins Festivals and Events Committee is another organization that's also decided to cut costs this year. It's dropping the Hollinger Fun Days, also known as the Free Zone, from its Rock on the River Festival.
There was an increased cost for the venue, a decrease in funding. So, much like the Rotary's going through, it's we're trying to keep our mandate on Rock on the River and bringing the artists that we have in, the local artists, the big artists, and that's kind of where we went. And we decided to give the Free Zone up, leave opportunity for someone else to take it.
Rock on the River is still a go at Hollinger Park with performances to entertain a diverse crowd.
Headstones, Biff Naked, Pop Evil, Cooper Allen, Brett Kissel, Corey Marks, and Mitch Jean. So yeah, it's going to be, and Failed Attempt, obviously, my band, but yeah, it's going to be great. We're excited.
Rock on the River happens on July 18th and 19th. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
With plenty of sniffing and exploring to do, there are some risks for your furry friends.
Some of the biggest things that we worry about this time of year will obviously be ticks, fleas and ticks and lice and those types of things.
Troublesome ticks can be found in areas like this, with long grass and trees, something Cockapoo Reggie and his owner look out for.
especially for his breed because of his soft fur, his curly fur, so he's prone to getting ticks more than a lot of other dogs.
Veterinarian Vicki Janes says using regular tick prevention medication like these can help.
There's also lots of natural dog bug repellents that are out there in like spray form that you can use if you're going camping or going to the lake.
Just like humans, dogs can get springtime allergies too. It can show up as a skin-related issue, watery eyes, and lots of itching.
You good?
Nothing Janes says some medication can't fix. With great sniffing comes great responsibility from pet owners, which can create some feelings on walks.
Lots of stress, but just more precautions and you pick and choose where you're going to go.
To keep them from eating something they shouldn't.
Honestly, like the spring melt revealing all sorts of like crap for her to eat and all sorts of like little bones and stuff like that for her to eat has been probably the biggest spring issue.
Most dogs like to eat poo of some variety, especially rabbit poo seems to be a delicacy.
While it might look tasty for your pet, it's best to keep your dog away.
That's why we do those health prevention things like deworming and flea and tick prevention and that to try and just make up for the fact that every now and then they might get a little something.
All parts of owning an active and healthy dog.
Good job.
Miriam Valdez-Carletti, CTV News, Edmonton.
It's the sound that's become synonymous with Montreal.
If you know that sound, you know you're in Montreal.
Known to fans and players.
As a starter for this franchise, I'm extremely thankful for him.
But now, no more. The Alouettes have updated the team's code of conduct, saying fans are not permitted to use instruments with high decibel levels that will disrupt their fellow spectators. Compressed air horns, megaphones, and other mechanical noise instruments are prohibited. Denis Genereux is the fan who started the air horn trend back in 2011.
Back then, I was in the end zone. There was nobody in front of us. And every game we were kind of tipsy, so the noise wasn't a problem.
The team says the decision was made following complaints and on the recommendation of the league, as these kinds of air horns can emit a sound of about 130 decibels. That's louder than a rock concert and can cause permanent damage to your hearing. And while that's not the only way to make noise, Heather Lohengrin says last Saturday's preseason game wasn't the same without air horns.
Saturday's game was a downer.
She says the fans pride themselves on being the 13th man, making noise while opposing offenses are on the field.
We're the fans that pay like $2,000 or $3,000 for your season tickets, and you should have nothing to say about it.
Genereux says a better solution would be to allow air horns only in one section, much like the Ultras at CF Montreal games. But he also has this. Yes, that's a souped-up power drill with horns on it. He hopes certain fans would be allowed to use them to lead the cheering.
When to get up and when to make noise.
But for now, he agrees with the ban, saying there's a time and a place to bring the noise. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
Natalie Eers had the dream of becoming an Olympic ski jumper when she was just 6 years old. But that dream was almost derailed 15 months ago when she was training in Slovenia. She came off a little cricket in her takeoff and couldn't get things straightened out before her landing.
And I finally came into landing. My left ski I was able to get straight. My right ski was a little bit off, so my knees are going in the forward direction. My ski is going this way. My other ski just spun around backwards.
Eers ended up suffering multiple injuries. The scars on her knees tell the painful story. You'd almost need a medical dictionary to go through it all.
I tore my ACL, I tore my medial meniscus and a buccal tear, tore my lateral meniscus on both ends, I believe. I got a couple of compression fractures. I believe that I also tore my oblique popliteal ligament. Not really sure what that one is, but it did say it on the MRI. I think it's fine now.
On top of that, Eers also partially dislocated her shoulder. Some wondered if her ski jumping career was over, but not Eers. The 26-year-old was bound and determined to get back on the hill.
I wasn't ready to be done. Like I was having a really good season leading into this. I was so happy, so excited to be jumping for the Olympic season. It's been my dream since I was a little girl. So, you know, everything in my life has led up to this point, and I just wasn't ready.
Next month, Eers returns to the scene of the crash in Slovenia. She says she's thought a lot about that first jump back.
I'm just really excited to get back and do that, even though it'll be a small hill. I'll start on a very small hill, but every single step along the way is huge for me. I don't mind it being a small hill. We usually train on those hills at the beginning of summer anyways, so I'm just really excited.
And she's excited that after all of her hard work, she gets to continue to pursue her Olympic dream.
And I thought for a bit there that it was taken away, possibly. I wasn't going to let that happen, but you never know if a doctor says you can't do it again. So the fact that I'm able, I'm cleared, I'm good, and now I have even the chance to qualify, that means everything to me.
These 50 students will spend the next 2 weeks learning about nuclear energy from international industry leaders at the University of Saskatchewan.
I'm hoping to understand better maybe what some of the barriers are to the nuclear industry, what things that we could overcome to help it succeed more.
The Canadian Nuclear Energy Management School, run in cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, is a first of its kind for Western Canada. And with more than 30 of the students calling Saskatchewan home, those involved say it will help grow the province's energy sector as a whole. Saskatchewan currently doesn't have any nuclear power in its electricity, meaning the province is still establishing laws and regulations around the resource. This is also known as a greenfield jurisdiction.
This is important because it builds capacity in Saskatchewan as we look to the future, as SaskPower looks to small modular reactors and beyond to help power the future. Helping build that knowledge and that skill base right in the province will be critical to our success.
More than 200 applicants applied for a spot in the 2-week intensive course. And now the chosen 50 represent various sectors of the energy industry across Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, Ontario, and the Northwest Territories.
It was a very difficult task, but I'm glad with the cohort that we have. I'm very happy, and really they represent a good cross-section of industry regions.
The program will also focus on the potential environmental impacts and benefits of nuclear energy.
We need the sources of energy that are big sources of energy that are more consistent and reliable, that have no emission.
Nilsson says the potential step towards greener energy is an exciting one.
Supplementing things with solar and wind is really good, but it's not always available, and there's smaller efficiency on it. So I think getting bigger sources like nuclear is a really good step forward.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
After more than 4 decades of serving steaks and smiles, Jamie Duncan is retiring from the Keg, a place she's called her second home for over 40 years.
It's been an absolutely fabulous ride.
Duncan started serving at the Keg before the brand moved in. The building at the corner of Sydney and Division Road used to be a Crock and Block restaurant.
Got hired for that, and then it changed about 83 to the Keg and stayed on.
Before hanging up the apron on June 1st and capping off a 45-year run at that location, co-workers organized a surprise retirement party Sunday afternoon.
It's been an incredible honor having her on the team, and it's been, our pleasure getting to know her as an employee and as a colleague and a friend.
If you've been to the Keg throughout the past 4 decades, chances are you've had Duncan as your server. If you've worked with her over the 40-plus years, chances are you've been called darling.
She tends to use the word darling or baby.
Some people are only here for a summer, and everyone ends up being darling or baby, and that way she never forgets anyone's name. She never calls anyone the wrong name.
Dan Moriarty has worked with Duncan for more than 30 years and smiles when looking back at their time together.
Always great. Just so many years getting to know her family, and being best friends with her son.
As a single mom, Duncan raised 2 children as a server.
Gave us everything we ever needed, and you can tell by how wonderful a person she is because look at the turnout. So she did very well, and I can't thank her enough.
Duncan found more than just a paycheck at the Keg.
Love, family, friendships, security, those are pretty good things.
Though she admits she'd love to work another 20 years, Duncan says the right time is now to move on. Her next chapter includes travel and perhaps a part-time job.
I couldn't have asked for a better gig.
She's legendary. She will not be forgotten.
Bob Belichico, CTV News.
And it was also a very busy weekend for charity walks. On Sunday, the annual MS Walk at Sunnydale Park took place, where nearly 300 people marched to raise funds for MS research, support, and a hopeful cure.
There are 90,000 people in Canada living with MS today. 12 new people get diagnosed a day. That's 2 people an hour.
It's a day-to-day battle. It's not easy. Some people get vision symptoms. They may get double vision. They may have numbness. Just because one person may have a symptom, it could be completely different for someone else. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. When I was diagnosed 27 years ago, there had only just been 4 medications approved. Now we have over 20. And it's because people walked then that we're at this place now.
This community is amazing. We are so proud to be here. Every year they really step up, they lace up, they make a big difference.
We never know when that last dollar is going to find a cure.
The Barrie Walk raised more than $100,000, and those across Canada raised nearly $2 million. The funding will support research, programming, and other crucial resources for those living with the disease. And this weekend also marked 40 years for the annual Walk for Alzheimer's, with more than 200 marching to raise money, in that case for the local branch of the Alzheimer's Society of Canada.
Today is a day to cherish and to hold close to our hearts those that we love, and to spend time with family and our broader community. Chartwell Retirement Residences sponsored an honor walk, which means we have about 50 photographs of loved ones that we are holding in tribute.
People notice something is not so right. You get sent to the doctor.
I have never met anyone who was not affected by it. So we all need the Alzheimer's Society, because this is the place, the organization that knows how to help, that knows what to do.
Every dollar stays local to local programming. We want to be doing more in art, music, and movement therapy. We are starting to broaden our outreach, and we're only really able to do that through kind donations and grants.
The walk raised more than $60,000 for the Alzheimer's Society here in Simcoe County.
O'Neill Heppel looks back at a photo of himself as a boy with one of his first bikes
that my parents bought me at Wolco.
He never forgets the feeling of riding it for the first time after enduring a long Ontario winter.
When it was April the 1st, it was just so exciting.
He also always remembers the day this picture was taken.
That was June the 3rd.
You see, O'Neill has a remarkable memory for all dates.
I don't really want to remember bad stuff.
So he chooses to only recall the best. Other people's birthdays.
The most popular day is March 25th. I met 17 people on that day.
He meets most people on his bike and has memorized more than 600 of their birthdays and counting.
When I see someone, I don't remember their name, I remember their date of birth.
And they remember that O'Neill rides his bike, which is not an e-bike, everywhere, every day, no matter the weather.
People still look at me and says, hey, you're crazy, but again, it's a good crazy.
Because O'Neill also remembers how many kilometers he's cycled.
431,000 kilometers.
Half a million?
Yeah, almost 500,000. I've been keeping track since January 1st, 1997.
He records every ride in this notebook, including a recent trip to a faraway town, totaling 300 kilometers, which he did in 17 hours over one day.
This time, I had so much energy, I could have just went riding for another 40K.
Because cars and buses can feel confining, O'Neill says, but cycling is free.
It's a stress-free environment when you're riding a bike. Just keep on riding, just makes me stay positive.
Which inspires O'Neill to spread that positivity. Whether it's by contacting all those people to wish them happy birthday, which he can do multiple times a day, or encouraging them to get back on their bikes and ride like they're a kid again on the first day of spring.
Just go for it. Yeah, just go for it. Yeah.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Vancouver.